Hi guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, and welcome back to another Sims 4 speed building video. So in today's video I wanted to do something that I haven't done in quite a while, and I wanted to build a limited pack build. So I think I've only done 2 or 3 of these before. I've done one of them where I just used all the expansion packs, but that was before Get Famous came out. So I've got one of them on my channel, but I can't remember the last time I actually did just like a limited pack build. I've done quite a few base game kind of builds, but I haven't actually just limited myself to certain packs. So for today's video I decided that I'd actually do one of them today. So a little while ago on Twitter, Sim Guru Lindsay actually tweeted out the 3 top packs for each game or pack category. I don't know why I said game category, but each pack category. So we have stuff packs, expansion packs and game packs. And she released in what order all of the packs came in, and the number 1 expansion pack was Cats and Dogs, the number 1 game pack was Parenthood, and the number 1 stuff pack was Laundry Day. And so with this in mind, I wanted to build this because as they are the most popular packs, I kind of figured that the more amount of people would be able to download it and play in this house. And so that's why I decided to build this today, and I actually had a lot of fun, and I didn't actually struggle as much as I thought I would, because there is so many packs now. I don't even know the amount of packs. I think there's like 12 or 13 stuff packs. There's like 5 or 6 expansion packs, and I don't even know how many game packs. There's a lot of different packs, and I want to start doing more houses that more people can download. And so if you have any suggestions of limited pack builds that you want me to do, or just builds that use certain packs because maybe you don't like certain packs and you don't want me to use them, let me know and I'll definitely take them into consideration. But as you can kind of see, the main structure of the house has kind of come together now. I do actually make it a little bit bigger at the back just because I wanted there to be more room upstairs. And so this house with Cats and Dogs and Parenthood and Laundry Day, there is room for 2 cats or 2 dogs, whatever you want, or maybe a dog and a cat, because I did actually put a litter box in 2 of the bathrooms, and so you can either have a cat or a dog. I didn't add any kind of pet beds because they're so big I can never find anywhere to fit them in, and so I just kind of figured that they could sleep on the sofa or on the floor, or if you have a cat they could possibly sleep on the bed. I also just remembered I didn't actually add one of them little scratching posts for cats in this build, so if you would like to play with cats in this house, then you're gonna have to add in the scratching post. I've literally just remembered as I'm doing this voiceover that I didn't add one of them scratching posts in. But if you don't want cats, then that's fine, you can just delete the litter boxes and you've already got your food bowls and stuff like that, so you're kind of good to go. And with Parenthood, because it is kind of like a family based pack, I wanted this to be a family house, and so there's room for some parents, some grandparents and 3 children, so 2 of them being actual children and 1 of them being a teenager. I did actually put a high chair in this build and some potties in some of the bathrooms because I wasn't sure if I should actually do a toddler room. But in the end I decided not to go for a toddler room, but I still kept them in, so in case you have a sim who's pregnant and maybe you've only got 1 dog or cat, so there still is a household slot for another kid, then you can just have a toddler, and the high chair and all that kind of the potty and all that is still there, but there isn't any toddler bed or anything. Maybe you could just squeeze them into one of the bedrooms and kind of make one of the children share. But moving on from that, you can kind of see that I'm just doing the floor plan, and when I was doing the floor plan for this build, it took me a little while because I couldn't really figure it out. It was a little bit of a funny shape, this house, and so it did take me quite a while, but there did end up being, I don't even know how many bedrooms, I think like maybe 5 or 6, I'm not completely sure, but like I said, there is room for some parents and grandparents and 2 children and a teenager, or you could have the teenager's room to be just for an older child. Something that I like to do sometimes in my game is if I have a child or a teenager, but I kind of want them in the middle age, I'll kind of make a house for them and then kind of decorate their room for little bits of both. And so the only thing though with that room is there is a double bed in there, so it's probably more for a teenager, but it could be for a child. Maybe they're just the favourite child or something like that. But you can kind of see I've just finished up the floor plan now, and this is how it stays. I did actually make room for the get together walk-in wardrobe when I was building this, because I completely forgot that it didn't come with base game. For some reason I thought it did, and so I did leave like a little nook in it in the grandparents' bedroom. But when I actually come to decorating that room, I kind of realised straight away, and I just kind of leave it. I didn't actually end up filling it in. I just thought it could be a empty wall. I didn't end up filling it in. I didn't know really what to do with it, and if I would have filled it in, I felt like it would have really just made the room look like a really weird shape, and so I just kind of left it. You can kind of see I'm just going back and doing a little bit more landscaping. I did the landscaping, and then when I raised the foundation up, some of the plants were clipping in, and I did actually move this lot to the side one tile and then forward a couple of tiles, just because I wanted there to be more backyard space, because I wanted this family to have a pool, because I wanted there to be as many different activities to do in this house. And so I did have to redo that little path, which I did, and I never actually used that terrain painting either, which I don't know why, because it's actually a really nice one, the one that I've used leading up to the house. So I actually tried to match it to the pathway that is in the actual road, so the one that we can't edit. And so you can kind of see there's like a little gap in between two bits of grass, and so I tried to mimic that pathway kind of leading up from there. This is actually built on the house, which is it's an empty lot, and it's the one opposite the Goth household. And so when you go into the game, it is just an empty lot, there is nothing here, so I'm just kind of building something for something to go there, if you know what I mean. I did actually debate building this in Brenton Bay because I did use cats and dogs, but I actually then just decided that I wanted to build a typical kind of suburban kind of house, and I wasn't really looking to do that kind of Brenton Bay style today. I just kind of wanted to sit down and build a classic little suburban limited pack build. But now you can kind of see that I have moved on and I'm doing the back garden. So you would have noticed that I did actually skip over the landscaping of the back garden, and it's because it took me such a long time, and I normally do it in my speed builds anyway. I was planning on keeping the footage in for this one, but it made the video way too long, and it doesn't need to be that long. And I also feel like it can be very, very repetitive. I normally do this, but it's just I'm putting the same plants just in a different kind of format, but in a different place. So the same kind of plants in the front garden are in the back garden, and I just did them in a different kind of flower bed. I've been really liking doing them kind of circular kind of flower beds lately, and then just using the terrain paint and kind of going around it to look like a little border. I just really like doing that recently, so I've been doing that quite a lot in some of my builds. But you can kind of see I'm just furnishing the back garden. I added a pool in here. Like I said, I wanted there to be as much to do in this back garden as possible. I did also add just this little seating area up the top on kind of like the higher foundation, so almost like a deck. I wanted there to be somewhere where maybe the grandparents would want to come and read on a nice sunny day. When I was initially doing the back garden, I did actually forget to add a barbecue in, which I don't actually know how I forgot to add a barbecue into a house, but because I normally put them in every single one of my gardens, I did forget when I was doing this back garden, but I did go back at the end and I have added it, so it won't be in this video, but you'll see it in the screenshots. And if you'd like to download this house, which you can via the gallery, then there will be a barbecue in the garden, so don't worry about that. Also, if you want to find me on the gallery, my origin ID is JessicapieYT, or you could just search the hashtag JessicapieYT or the hashtag Jessicapie, either way, and you'll find me that way. And I upload every single one of my speed builds, or my builds of my speed builds, onto the gallery, so if you see any build that you like on the gallery, you can go and download it that way. But you can kind of see I'm just finishing up the garden now. And for terrain painting, I actually have recently been using the same terrain paint which I used to kind of fence off the little flower beds, but I've been using it in a really, really soft brush and then going around the whole grass, just because I never know whether to patio a whole garden or not. And I feel like whenever I do patio maybe a whole garden or half a garden, it looks a little bit strange. So I've been doing that a lot recently, and I feel like it just makes it look a lot better because it just adds some texture into the garden, and so it's not just completely plain grass. But now you can kind of see I have moved on and I'm doing the kitchen. So like always, I did do the flooring and the wallpapering off camera, just because it takes me so long all the time to figure out which ones I want to use, and so I never really include that into my footage, but you can kind of see which ones I've used. I've used the tile from Parenthood in the kitchen, and I've used the matching kind of wallpaper in the rest of the house, and so it matches, the woods match. So if you was to put the wallpaper in the lounge room up against this kitchen tile, the woods and the bottom would be the exact same. It's just the only difference in the kitchen is obviously tiled instead of just wallpaper. But you can kind of see I use some base game counters in here, and I'm actually quite surprised from that because I expected myself to be using the Parenthood counters because I use them in a lot of my builds. They are my favourite counters in the game, but I feel like with the wood on the bottom of this wallpaper, these counters just went with this wallpaper perfectly, and so I decided to use this one. But you can kind of see I'm just finishing it up, and I do cluster it up as always. But as you can kind of see, I'm using this red shelf just to help me raise objects up onto the microwave and possibly the shelves. And if you want to download this, I'll leave a link in the description box down below. But basically, I'm pretty sure a lot of people already have seen this because a lot of other builders use it, but it just helps you raise an object to a certain height so you don't have to press the 9 key a load of times, and sometimes if you do that they do float. This shelf just allows you to put it to the exact height that you want it and then place the object onto it and then transfer it from that red shelf onto the object that you would like. It's a very, very useful piece of CC. It is obviously CC, but if you leave it in your build, or if you don't leave it in your build, it won't be classed as CC. So as long as you remember to delete it, your builds won't be classed as CC, and it's honestly very, very useful, and it's probably one of my favorite things to use when I'm building, and it's something that I now feel like I cannot live without. But you can kind of see I'm just moved on from the kitchen. I'm doing the little laundry room just off to the side. And so like I said, this house does have laundry because laundry day was one of the 3 packs that I used, and so I wanted there to be a little utility room for your Sims to come and do their washing. I wanted to make it a separate room just because I wanted to use as many things in the pack that I could, and so I decided to do this. And in this room it's just got the washing machine and the tumble dryer. Like I said, there is a hanging line out in the back garden as well, so if you want to hang out your laundry, you can do that. And I just added some other little objects, some like shoes, maybe they keep their Wellingtons and stuff like that into that room, and it's just off the kitchen, just by the back door, so I thought it was the perfect place to add a little utility room. But moving on, as you can see, I am now decorating the dining room. So the dining room is not a separate room, it's just a very open plan house. The same going to the lounge, it's not a closed off room, it's just a very open plan, which I prefer and I personally feel is a lot easier for gameplay. But you can kind of see I use the cats and dogs table, and when I actually come to picking out the chairs for the table, there wasn't a matching brown that went with the table swatch that I used, and so I ended up using the brown one with the black legs, and then I paired it with the matching chairs in that kind of collection, and I used the black ones with the red cushions. They are one of my favourite chairs to use in the game. Cats and Dogs is probably one of my favourite packs, if not my favourite pack. I'm always tired with Cats and Dogs and Seasons, and so I can never actually choose. And so I'm really, really happy that I was able to use them in this build. And so as you can kind of see, I've just done like a little pottery kind of area where maybe all the expensive plates and cups and glasses and stuff is kept, and I'd put a little Parenthood sofa in between that just to kind of fill out the dead space. Maybe it'll be somewhere to sit down and read a book when you're waiting for dinner or something like that. But I do just finish this room off now, and you can kind of see I add another armchair on the other side of the room. Originally I was going to go for this Cats and Dogs one because I was going to just try and incorporate that armchair into this field somehow. I don't know, I absolutely love that armchair. But I decided to go for this other Cats and Dogs one in this white kind of plain swatch. It kind of looks like maybe the sofa has been refurnished or rematerialized, if that makes any sense, because it kind of looks like there's a blanket or something pulled over the sofa, which I really like. And I do actually use them sofas into the lounge room, which I have now moved on to. So I use them in the yellow swatch. So in this sofa there's a load of different swatches, and I believe there's 3 plain swatches, one of which being this yellow creamy kind of swatch. I use the same kind of armchairs, but I use the ones without the arms into the lounge room, which I really like. And whenever I do use this sofa, I always tend to use the one which I use in the dining room, and so I thought I'd just switch up a little bit and I'd use the ones without the arms. And so you can kind of see I use the Parenthood table in the middle of the room as well. As Parenthood, it was the first time I believe that we got introduced with the big 4 kind of the 4 tables, or the 4 square tables. I wanted to incorporate one of them into this build because I believe it was Parenthood that we got them for the first time, and they were such a game changer, and so I wanted to put one of them in this build. And so I just put that on and I cluttered it up with a load of different objects. I put some plotted plants and some little books and tissues and stuff like that, just to make it look a little bit more lived in. I did also add one of the cats and dogs fireplaces in here, just because I wanted it to be really, really cozy, and I do actually make room for a fireplace on the exterior as well, which, by the way, I show me building the fireplace, but I don't show me actually putting the wallpaper in and stuff like that on. When I was actually doing it, I think there's a glitch at the minute in the game where if you put a fireplace on top of a wall, it goes really dark and it's got this shadow on it, and it took me the longest time to do it, so I did cut it out of the build, but it will be in the build if you download this via the gallery. We can kind of see I am just finishing off the lounge room now. I did add a piano into this house because I thought that maybe one of the grandparents liked to play it, or just something like that. Maybe one of the children are learning it. And I also did add this Parenthood board, and I just thought it was a nice little thing to add, especially with using the Parenthood game pack, and so I wanted to try and incorporate that into this build somehow. But I'm just finishing this off, and I just add that little painting which we got from Cats and Dogs, which I absolutely love. It comes in, I think, 5 different swatches, and it's one of my favourite paintings in the game, and so I used it in the one that kind of looks like a country farmhouse kind of one, which I really, really like. And now I'm just adding this little bookcase by the front door, just as you walk in, so you can grab a book and kind of go. But as you can kind of see, I have now moved on and I'm furnishing the upstairs bathroom. So in this house there is 3 bathrooms, one of which being downstairs and the other 2 being upstairs. I wanted there to be a load of different bathrooms, as there is probably a lot of people living in this house, and so I didn't want to have it as being like maybe 1 or 2 bathroom. I wanted to try and add as many bathrooms as I could possible. I only show the furnishing for this one just because I feel like it's very repetitive, but the other 2 are very similar. I believe the other one on this floor has a shower. The one that I just shown, it doesn't actually have a shower in it, but the one on the downstairs in the bathroom on the bottom floor, it has a shower. So there is 2 showers and 2 baths, because the other main kind of bathroom also does have a bathtub as well. But as you can kind of see, I have now moved on and I'm furnishing the first child's bedroom. So in this bedroom I decided to go for a blue/green kind of theme. I used the Parenthood bed in the blue swatch of the duvet cover, and I absolutely love that bed. It's one of my favourites that we have in the game, and so I'm really, really happy that I used it in this build. And I also used the Parenthood chest of drawers. I absolutely love that chest of drawers. It's probably my favourite chest of drawers that we have in the game. I feel like it's more realistic instead of having such a big dresser for your Sims, because a lot of the time in children's bedrooms you would tend to have a smaller chest of drawers like this one, and so I'm really, really happy that they added it with Parenthood. I just used it in the plain white swatch though. It comes in a load of different colours, I believe it comes in something like 12 or maybe 13. It comes in a lot of colours from memory, and I think there's also some that have some pictures on and some drawings, but I just decided to use the plain white one. I also just used the poster that came in the update with, I believe it was Millie Bobby Brown, and it's just got a flying pig on it, and I just thought there was something little fun and cute to add into this room. But now moving on, I'm moving and doing the second child's bedroom. So for this room, I wanted the Sim to live here to be quite active. I imagine that they love football, they love going for jogs, they love doing all that kind of active stuff. I know that we don't actually have football in the game, but that's just something that I kind of imagined when I was doing this. And it's actually quite ironic how we have a football lamp in The Sims, but we can't play football. I kind of wish that would be one of the things that they could add into the game. I would love maybe some more activities after schools as well. Maybe they are in a football club or something like that. I would absolutely love doing that. In my last video I spoke about wanting like maybe a hobbies expansion pack, and if we do get something like that, I would really want football and just more sports and stuff like that to be incorporated into the game, because we don't really have many sports. We have gym equipment and we can go for runs, or we can play basketball, but we don't really have anything like other sports. So maybe if we do get a hobbies pack, which I highly doubt, but I kind of hope that they would, because they did it with Sims 2 Free Time, that football will kind of be incorporated into it somehow. But I do just add this bookcase as well, which we got from base game, and I added that teddy which we got from Parenthood. And I believe if you have get to work and you use that teddy bear when you're a toddler, or a child rather, I don't believe toddlers can use them, but I believe if you use it when you're a child and you actually go into the doctor career, that you actually get a moodlet saying like you've lived up to your lifelong dream because you used to play with it when you was a child. I don't know, I've seen this on Twitter and stuff like that, so hopefully that's a real thing. I think that's really interesting and really a cool thing if we do have that in the game. We can kind of see I've now moved on and I'm doing what could possibly be the teenage girl's bedroom. It could be either for a child, maybe the most spoiled child in the house, like I said at the start of the video, or maybe it is just for a teenager. But in here I added the painting easel, and I didn't actually add that much. I do actually add a desk in here as well. Where I use a double bed, it does take up quite a lot of space, and I wanted there to be enough space to be able to move around both sides of the bed. I decided to use the base game kind of IKEA looking chest of drawers in this room because I just feel like it matches perfectly, and I used this matching bedside table as well, and so I just kind of thought that maybe she did her bedroom all at once, and so all the furniture's in the same kind of collection. But I am just finishing up this room now. I add these kind of wall decor kind of objects just behind her bed, which I absolutely love, and I added them into one of the children's bedrooms as well. They are such a lovely object, and I'm so happy when we got them in Parenthood. Parenthood is definitely my favourite game pack, and it actually ranks higher than some expansion packs for me. I just absolutely love the game pack. It's one of my favourites. But now moving on, I am just doing the parents' bedroom. So in this bedroom, I decided to go for a very blue theme. I always tend to make my parents' bedrooms blue themes. I'm not really sure why, but it always tends to be like a following thing. But in here, I used the cats and dogs 4-poster bed in this lovely dark brown swatch, and the blue swatch of the duvet colour actually matches the wallpaper very, very closely. It's almost perfect, and so I was really, really happy with that. You can kind of see with these bedside tables, I just added a load of different objects. I added some books and some plants and the little clock as well, which came with base game, which I've been trying to incorporate a lot more into my builds recently, just because I always kind of tend to forget that it's there, and so I just added that. I do also just add this chest of drawers, which comes with base game, and although cats and dogs have a matching chest of drawers in that kind of collection of furniture, I wanted to kind of switch it up, as the chest of drawers itself looks quite old and worn. Maybe it's been in the family for a very long time and they just haven't had time to replace it, and I just thought it would suit this room a lot better than the one that matches with the bed, and so I decided to use that one. But now moving on, I'm furnishing the last room in the house. So this is the grandparents' bedroom. So in this bedroom, I went for a cream slash kind of beigey kind of colour with a hint of green here and there. And so I used the same 4-poster bed which I used in the parents' bedroom, but I just used it in a different swatch. In this swatch, it's a lighter wood, and the bedspread is a green colour, which I really like because it's a similar bed, but it's just in a different swatch. And so I just thought it'd be very, very nice to have the parents and the grandparents kind of with matching beds. But in here, I do just add this little sofa, which we got with cats and dogs. I tried to add the single armchair in the downstairs when I was furnishing the dining room, but I just couldn't fit it in, and so I decided to add a little sofa into their room, which I thought was so lovely. I'm not sure if there is 2 grandparents living in this room or 1. It could be either or, whatever you decide. But I absolutely love this room. It's probably one of my favourite rooms in the house just because it is so cosy, and it seems like the perfect place to just sit down and read a book and just completely unwind and relax. But we are reaching the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed watching me build this limited pack build. I had a lot of fun doing it, so if you've got any more ideas for limited pack builds or just build ideas in general, then let me know in the comment section down below. But as always, I hope you guys really enjoyed watching it. It will be available to download in the gallery like I mentioned earlier, and as always, if you do like my content, then please subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in my next Sims 4 speedbuilding video. Bye guys.